Good morning. It's April the 4th, I guess. Yes, 4th. And it's Monday. That means walking along the creek. It's pleasant. It's minus or plus 2 actually. Shouldn't be any ice today. And it's going to plus 14 later, which will be even, more pleasant. So, and the sun's out. So it's a beautiful spring morning. And I'm just going to follow my standard creek walk path today, I think. Just going to double check the focus there. So what's going on? Well, the Kickstarter, have I mentioned the Kickstarter? Pretty sure I mentioned the Kickstarter every single day, is at, which is the Kickstarter to fund my third anthology featuring science fiction and fantasy stories by authors who were guests on my podcast. First dog. The Kickstarter is at $12,999 this morning. The goal was $12,000, so it's funded. But I, of course, want it to go as high as possible. And so, yeah, next pledge will take it over $13,000. That could be you if you rank over to tinyurl.com/shapersofworlds3 if you're watching this live. Which I don't think anybody is at the moment, but maybe somebody is. Anyway, that's the URL, tinyurl.com/shapersofworlds3. Dogs, look at all the dogs. I hate dogs. It's not true. I actually quite like dogs, but it's funny to see them. How many of them you see when you're a walker that you don't think about if you're not a walker and you don't have a dog. No, I don't hate dogs. Don't take that out of context. I am, however, more of a cat person and always have been. We didn't have much luck with dogs. One poisoned, one stolen, one run over. No, I don't remember the run over one. I remember the poisoned one and the stolen one. Not that we had that much luck with cats for a while either, but finally we got one that was a sort of my growing up cat. I think wasn't that young when we got him, but got him as a kitten. Tiger, and he lived to be 18. So he was my growing up and into my 20s cat, actually. Well, I wasn't living with my parents by the end of that time, so they were still looking after him, and Dad was allergic. But still, he was my cat. And now, of course, we have Shadowpaw, as in Shadowpaw Press, my publishing company that will be publishing the aforementioned Shapers of Worlds Volume 3 anthology. Oops, a little bit of ice there. I didn't think I'd see any this morning. He's a black Siberian, and he'll turn 10 years old this year. It's hard to believe. He's been a great pet. And still is a great pet. And he's been immortalized now. Long after he's gone, hopefully, the Shadowpaw Press name will remain. Up onto the dike. Creek is all flowing, of course. Has been for some time now. Lake still had ice on it on Friday. We'll see what happens on this Friday when I take my walk. A lot of the snow has vanished. Some still remains in the shaded areas. It's quite high too. pretty dry up here, not muddy. Morning, how are? In Nanaimo. Compost pickup, they've experimented with it, but we don't really have it generally, no. Recycling, but not compost. Well, it wasn't even compost, it was a lawn, sort of lawn debris pickup I saw that they were experimenting with. I'm trying to read the next thing and still keep walking, which isn't easy. Got a deposit indoor cat, so he doesn't care winter, summer, it's all the same to him. So I'm not sure what the top of the dike is like over here. It's dried out. So I'll come back that way. Take the bridge here. Stop and look to the east. And to the west, you can see the creek flowing there and the movement on foam on the water surface. Ooh, it's quite mesmerizing if you look down at it from the bridge. Yes, who's behind me, so she was not walking along alone, in case you were wondering. Whoa. It's a broken board there at the end of the bridge. Yeah, I'm already taking my hat off. I'm getting warm enough. Noise over there. I wonder what they're doing. Let's probably find out because it's in front of us. Sort of city truck there. Be interesting on the other side of Elphinstone now to see what the snow situation is. There was a huge puddle I had to avoid last time. I couldn't even find a way around it. Hopefully that shrunk. Some ducks enjoying the creek there. My horizon is slightly askew, but I can't really do anything about that. It's hard to tell. Sometimes it's an optical illusion because of the trees and the slope of the land. Kinsman Park, Waterfall Park. Still lots of snow down there. It's very shaded. It's the big... Still a lot of water down there too. I won't try walking down there just yet. This is it's got pipes going into the creek. It's a pump of some sort. they're pumping out that big pool that I was just talking about in the waterfall park, which is quite flooded. So they're pumping that into the creek, which makes sense. That would appear to be an official worker type coming, because most people don't dress quite that way, just for a stroll along the path. See, there's lots of water standing on this side of the dike, and they're pumping it from back there over into the creek. This one, I don't know if they'll worry about, but Kinsman Park back there was getting pumped out.
Hi.
Good morning. Oh, I do hear another pump running, so maybe they are pumping it to somewhere. Gotta get the baseball diamonds dried out here too. Be wanting to play slow pitch before you know it. Or baseball. Yeah, there's some piece of equipment out there. They've obviously been working on the infield. You'd have difficulty getting to the stands at the moment though. And there's still snow in the outfield and in the infield, so not quite ready yet. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Look at me. I could be center field. Not me. I played outfield in my rather unfortunate attempts at Little League Baseball, and I couldn't catch because of not seeing well because of my glasses. Depth perception was always a concern. Couldn't catch, I couldn't hit, and I couldn't throw very well, so you know, not a big. Is that a snowshoe hare in the puddle? Oh, it's a duck. I mean a goose. I thought, first glance, I thought there was a hare actually sitting in the water, which would have been weird. But no, it's a goose. A lonely goose. Most of them are in pairs right now. Mateless, perhaps. It's going for a wade. Not swimming, wading. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Everything's a song cue if you know enough songs. I do know a few. That, of course, is a spiritual. So I have sung many of in my choral singing career, which I am not singing with the choir right now, but I've sung with many over the years, including the Canadian Chamber Choir, national auditioned choir. Somehow I fell out of that group. They don't even send me notices of upcoming projects, and I'm checking my availability, so clearly I'm no longer really on the roster. It's just too bad. I was always the oldest one, so although the people who have been in it every year are getting older too. They've got to be as old as I was when I did it, and I was the oldest one. It actually grew out of the Canadian Youth Choir, so their original concept was, well, it would go till people were 30. And then all that original group turned 30, and no, you know what? There's no reason for that. By the time I did it, I was in my 50s, about to turn 50. I can't remember when the first one was I did. Several years ago now. Alice was, oh dear. Alice is 20, and she was a little girl, so it must be 15 at least. That's alarming. How time passes. Wondered why the kid was wandering. He was talking on the phone. I almost just wore my windbreaker over my sweater, and I should have because I'm getting quite warm in my leather jacket now. I can open up part of it, but not all of it because of where I put the microphone. Even now, the microphone is probably moving a bit more than I normally like, but oh well. Sure, it's fine. Yeah, the creek is quite high now. There's normally more bank visible over there. Hasn't flooded its banks, but it's much higher than it is during the normal course of the year. I did wear my boots and not my runners on the theory there might still be puddles. It's been clear. When I get back, lots of editing jobs to do and work on. 2 phone calls to make today. I'm doing another podcast interview today with James Van Pelt, noted short story science fiction and fantasy writer. He taught high school English, and he created a plotting exercise called the 7-sentence short story, which I've adopted and used many times as a workshop. It always goes over well. So I thought the least I could do is interview him on my podcast. The podcast episode that went out yesterday is with Sheridan Kenyon, one of the best-selling fantasy authors in the world. 70 million books in print. #1 New York Times best-selling author. Goose is sitting on the railing there. I don't usually see them there. I have to stop and do my look up and down the creek here. You can see it's quite full. Now we'll just see what it's like. It's sort of down towards that end where there was a huge puddle the last 2 weeks I wasn't able to go through. I'll just go by him while he stay put. Hello, you. Probably shouldn't be sitting there anyway. Another dog. See more bicycles now too as it gets warmer. There's one puddle. I can easily deal with this one, I think. It is wet enough though that the boots were the right choice. That one's pretty shallow. Not a problem. Runners would have been okay there too, I guess. There's the turtle emerging from the snow. Or tortoise, whichever it is. Lots of snow has disappeared, and with 14 today, and we should lose most of what's those shaded areas. There was a big lump of ice on our street that I deliberately did not park on yesterday in the hopes hopes that the sun would get to it, and it's pretty much gone today, so that worked well. I hear the train a-comin'. Train noises in the distance. Another song cue. It's rolling round the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. Be sure you don't pitch that one too low when you start. That train keeps rolling, because I can't do it. I don't think I can go where it's supposed to go now. On down to San. Nope. Can almost hit the note, but not while I'm walking. Under ideal conditions, I might make some sort of noise at the appropriate pitch, but wouldn't have much volume. 2016, I was in a production of The Addams Family, playing Lurch, who has only one song in the musical. His entire show, my lines consisted of At one point, I pantomimed my history. I got applause for that, so I must have done a good job. But the very last song, he comes in and sings very low. There was a mic right there. I wouldn't have carried it all. But little known fact about basses, or maybe it's a well-known fact if you're a bass. Your voice is the lowest. Everybody's voice is the lowest first thing in the morning. So I can hit the really low notes first thing in the morning in a sort of gravelly way. As you go through the day, your voice warms up, and your upper range gets better, which is generally what you're concerned about. Especially musical theater, they tend to want you to sing up there. But well, my puddle has not gotten any better, but I might be able to go around it today. It's hard to be sure how much water I might run into if I take to the grass, but I don't want to walk through that. So let's just see, shall we, how bad it is over here. It doesn't look bad. Looks can be deceiving. It is squelchy, but not puddly. I'll have to go through the ball diamond here to even get back to the path, I think. So, Rob Urson, who is the director at intermission, he provided me with a little airline-size bottle of whiskey, which I drank to roughen up my voice. And I think it helped. Wasn't enough to affect my performance otherwise. Just 1 ounce, but I do think it helped me hit those low notes in the last number. Oh, this is much wetter than it looks, but at least I have my boots on. I'll go across here, should be able to get back on the path. Sun shining on the puddles in that direction. Squelchy ground, definitely not dry ground for the most part. It wasn't that long ago I walked down on the creek down here. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago. We'll do that today. I have many abilities, but walking on water is not one of them. This is the Pasco Street Bridge. wonder if the path is flooded under the bridge. No, it doesn't look like the water's that high. So it's okay, but we're not going that way. We're going up here. I'll take my longer route further out that way soon, once I'm more confident of the path condition. I've probably gone over there and walked through the field without too much muddiness. Maybe next Monday we'll make it longer. And of course, the Saskatchewan Express, Performing Arts School and Performing Troupe in that old school there. I rehearsed a show there in the late 80s when it had just quit being a school not too long before that, so it's actually not been a school for a very long time. We used it when we were rehearsing the Fantastics for Thai productions. I did several shows for Thai, directed a couple too. Did I direct two? I directed one anyway. Was in many more. Thai stood for Tom and Yvonne Ellis, and she had a long history in the performing arts. That's how I met the aforementioned Rob Urson, who was the best man at my wedding, and has been a friend ever since. He's artistic director for Class Young People's Theatre. They just did Peter Pan, his adaptation of it. My daughter was involved with that group from age 10 until she left high school. I used to be on the board briefly. Help out when they needed someone, but I'm not a huge fan of being on boards, but I've been on lots of them over the years. In fact, I'm currently vice president of Sask Books, Publishing Association. There's been a lot of difficulty fulfilling that position so far. Sask Books has an executive director and a staff, so the board is not a hands-on, you have to do all the work kind of board like most of the boards I've been a member of have been. More of an oversight role, setting policy, that kind of thing. This is nicely cleared off. Streets are pretty much free of snow anywhere now, and ice, and even water. A little muck here and there. There's a little bit of snow still left from the piles from when the road was cleared last. It's evil black snow. Snow of darkness. Snow of evil. Evil snow. You could write a novel based on any of those titles. snow good? Maybe not. Snow anyway. There's snow business like snow business. Still some here. Shouldn't be any ice, the temperature as it is. I'm sure there has been some morning, so I'll be careful. Seems to have all melted this morning. Soccer field. Our daughter played soccer briefly, very briefly. I wouldn't really say she played it. She was on the field. And there's a ball, and some kids were kicking at it, but she and her friend were more likely to be bent over looking at something in the grass, so she didn't really take just as well. She ended up, well, she would have loved to have done more figure skating, but she ended up focusing on dance. I prefer dance to keep for figure skating because the limited ice time is annoying from a parental point of view. And a dog and a kid both being taken for a walk. They're going to build something there, maybe, or it's hard to say. I'll go up this way. There's a lot of people in the park this morning compared to a normal winter's morning walk anyway. So the warmer weather does bring out more people. Playground still has some snow and ice in it, probably not great for running around in, puddles. I think today we'll just go down College Avenue over here, which is what this road joins, or is. I don't know how they label it. Neil Bulkwell Civic Arts Center in front of us. Take art classes there, and there's the Art Gallery of Regina, a small art gallery in there. Giant beaver over here, of course. Of course. Doesn't everyone have one? The entrance is actually around the corner here. This is kind of the back, even though it faces onto the road here. The entrance faces more onto the park. This is a seniors activity center here. Ridge Avenue. Which will take us straight down to Angus Crescent. Here comes another dog. Must be about the 10th this morning. The alleys are starting to look better. With the footing being good, this is probably a shorter walk than this has been the last midwinter times when I did it. So lots of snow piled up on the dike on the shady side down there. My nose has been running since the snow started melting. People talk about snow mold, which is freed up when the snow melts. I don't know if that's what it is or not, but it's true that every year when the snow melts, I tend to get sniffly. And the occasional sneeze. Of course, we do have a cat, and although I've always said I'm not allergic to cats, I probably am slightly. He's not very allergy making, as cats go. He was actually tested as a kitten, and his level of the main allergenic protein was quite low. And my wife is allergic for sure, and she lives with him with no trouble, so he's been very successful in that regard. Nevertheless, everybody else in my family is allergic. So I think both my brothers and my father certainly was. So I think I might be slightly. However, it's clearly not him making my nose run when I'm walking out here. Let's just scroll up the tree. This is a very shaded spot. And see how much snow remains anywhere where the sun can't get at it. Hopefully it has not got any ice on it still. Doesn't look like it, but I'll be careful. Might be some really close into the snow that's still sitting there. Leopold Crescent. The next one is ours. One time there was a railroad track on that side, and at one time, if you went straight ahead on the corner of Albert and College, they were going to build a giant hotel, and they actually put in structural steel for some of it at least, and the project died for economic reasons. It was never built, but it would have been, there would have been a train, probably a station right up where the hotel was, kind of thing. But did not materialize, which is too bad. Regina was booming in the early 20th century, and then there was a bust. And then, before it really recovered from that, there was the Depression and the Dust Bowl. And Saskatchewan was particularly hard hit by the 30s. And Regina has been kind of not really bounced back completely ever since. I mean, obviously it has, but it certainly is not the city that they confidently thought it would be back in the early 20th century, when they expected it to be 1 million people, you know, by now, rivaling same size as Winnipeg or Calgary. But it did not happen. The whole province only has, I think it's 1.2 million, 1.3 million maybe now. Not much. Or might not even be that. Over 1 million, but I don't know by how much. Regina is about 230,000, I think, and Saskatoon is maybe 250. It's the bigger of the two. I think that's because of the university, and there's a research park up there, and Canadian Light Source, and then a lot of resource companies have offices in Saskatoon, uranium mining and so forth. Almost home. Back to editing, back to checking in on the Kickstarter, see if it's gone over 13,000 yet. 3 days to go as of 10 o'clock my time. 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time. It ends on Thursday, April 7th. And I'll see what my final total is. And that money will almost instantly go away as I pay authors for stories. And we'll see if I have any left for the production side or if I have to eat that. I slowly make money as the books sell over the years, and probably on Kindle they sell the most. I'm probably averaging at least one book a day for each of them. Well, that's not a lot, but over time it adds up. So they brought in a few $1,000s, I guess. I don't know that I want to actually add it up, because I'm probably still losing money. Oh, it certainly would be if not for the Kickstarter. Simply couldn't do this without the Kickstarter. I wouldn't be able to pay the authors, and I wouldn't ask this level of authors to write stories for anything less than 10 cents a word, so. Okay, here's our usual stopping intersection. Oh, and some late hello from somebody. Oh, Elmer again. You're welcome. We'll stop here. Thanks for walking with me. Probably walking downtown tomorrow. Bye for now.